Hey everybody, my name is Carlos. Thank you for tuning in to Global Canvas. Today we're going to do a little bit of oil painting. If you watched our last video, you could see that I didn't fall entirely flat on my face, but also it was kind of messy and wishy-washy until it made a little bit of sense. But isn't that not art? I wanted to mention that I'm trying to become the first tattooer to tattoo in outer space, so whatever you guys can do to make that happen, whatever phone calls you can put in place, please do. But without further ado, let's jump into our painting here. So this is the ballerina that we chose to paint. And this is where we left off in our last video. It's pretty dry, ready to roll. So I guess let's get started. The first thing we gotta do is obviously pour out all my color. So I have a technique, a method to the madness, so to speak, that I did 4 years ago, whenever it was I last did a painting, and let's see if it still works. So I'm going to start up in this corner with some titanium white. I'm going to run down the left side with some warm tones here. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to do on this side, so hopefully I don't run out of space here. Ooh, this bit. Oh, this is thick. Oh boy. That's Naples yellow light. It's probably the hardest I've ever had to squeeze an oil tube to get paint out. This is going to be light yellow ochre. Oh my god, that's fluidy. Holy smokes. I bet that's not normal. That's probably a separation that took place inside the tube. Here I have yellow ochre. Let's see what... It's already splashy. Let's see what this has. Okay. I think some of these may have been sitting on the shelf for a while. Alright, I gotta figure out how to... God, these are so liquidy. I hate this. Looks like I got enough room for these last three. Oh, that last one I did, by the way, was alizarin crimson. This is burnt sienna. That's what I'm looking for. That's the viscosity I'm looking for. After burnt sienna, we're going to do some raw umber. And as you can see, these are mostly warm reddish tones. Look at this, it's dripping. Jesus Christ. Wow. What a Looney Tune. Okay, well, we're off to the races, I suppose. I'm gonna let that seep through and destroy my carpet. And then the last one on this side I'm gonna do is ivory black. Looking normal. Okay, so that is my warm tones from white through reddish hues down into brown blacks. I'm gonna come across this way. Oh, I can already see a mistake that I made. This was supposed to go in a different spot. But we're going to do some warm white there. That's very close to Naples yellow in this lighting. I might have to turn off one of my lamps here to really see it. Phthalo green. God, this is going to squirt all over the place too, isn't it? No. Phthalo green is an insanely... I shouldn't have pulled it that way. I should have pulled it the other direction. Phthalo green is an insanely staining pigment. It will totally mess up anything that you try to blend with it, so you got to use the tiniest little bit. Wow, speaking of tiny bits, I am just wasting paint today. This is Viridian. We got some French ultramarine blue. Ugh, so much oil base. What's the world coming to? And then to finish me off, a little bit of plum gray. You may be looking at the reference right now like, where is the blue, the green, the plum gray? But this will all make sense when we start blending some colors here. As always, we need a little bit of liquid. This is my fast drying medium. This allows me to do these paintings quicker instead of sitting around and waiting for stuff to set up, which is artist slang for dry, because we so cool like that. And then a little bit of Damar varnish, just to give a little bit more shine to the brush strokes. Oh, I should mix up like a pot of Damar liquid. That's probably a horrible idea. Okay, now that I'm covered in viscous chemicals, let's start mixing some paint. So I think what I'm gonna do, if you can see my mouse, I don't know if you'll be able to here. Yeah. I think what I'm gonna do is work on background today. So we'll get this blocked in, we'll get this blocked in, we'll get this blocked in. We'll leave her be, and then maybe if I'm feeling froggy, we'll do the rest of the cement here. Okay, so let's start by picking an area. Like I said, I'm gonna work on, so today I'm gonna work on blocking in this part of the alley here, this blurred out background up here, this wall here, and then maybe if I'm feeling froggy, we'll do a little bit of this sidewalk. But we're gonna avoid our tattooed ballerina almost entirely here. So let's start mixing up some colors. So I will use a palette knife and try to approximate some tones here. So it looks like if I really want to start with this section here, the lighter stuff, and then we'll blur out into the black after that. So it looks like I got a little bit of a warm tone. It's between this dark yellow ochre, alizarin crimson. That's really red. Holy smokes. That's okay. I can dip in that. Pull this out. It doesn't look like, honestly, I need to do much mixing right now, so I'm just going to put my palette knife to the side and we'll start rolling. Alright, picking up where we left off last time, we're going to make sure to keep things as light as possible. And we're hoping that we'll be able to buff it all into a nice diffused outdoor scene. You ever have those days where all of your oil pigments spill too much oil out onto the palette? It's just the worst. And unlike tattooing, you don't really need to go section by section and like finish as we move up. Oil painting and tattooing varies in many ways, but one of the ways is we can just block in areas with like regular major color setups and then go through and just blend them out. I'm pretty much gonna block in just some of this alleyway stuff here. Let me turn off my warm light for you guys so you can see a little bit better of what I got going on. Alright. I'm looking at the background on my reference and I'm trying to make sure I have all of these tiny little colors somehow represented on this canvas panel. I'm so used to, in the past, working on large canvases and not gessoed board. I said canvas panel, but what I meant was gessoed board. And the distinction is important because the gesso board has no absorption and there's basically no tooth. So everything we're going to do today is going to be like kind of wet, a little soggy. And that is entirely too dark compared to the foreground, but you know what? We'll get there later. As I've stated in the past, none of this fucking matters. We will find a way and we'll make it all work out. Punching in some shapes here, just kind of dropping these brush strokes on, just dropping them in there, and then later we're gonna buff them all into each other and see how that looks. But really this is just getting, kind of similar to what we did with the background, this is getting ourselves a layout of what is ultimately going to go where. It's going to show us what goes where, so that later on when we're layering things, we'll be closer to our final look where we can tune it. By tune it, I mean we can take what's already there and pull it or push it into warmer or cooler or sharper or more blurry. But we can't do any of that until all of these tones are approximated. Once they're approximated, then we can make some big decisions. It comes out there. I'm going to switch brushes here for a second because this one's a bit messy. I'm going to jump in with some of this warm white. There we go. These bright brushes, the one I used before this, they're just kind of like sliding the pigment around. So this one's really dropping it. I love this painting in front of people, having not done this in many a year, because it's like there's an intensity to it and there's like a pressure, which makes no sense because art is not a pressure thing. It's just like, you know, how does it make you feel? Good? Alright, sweet. Like I said, we're gonna avoid our female figure here, but there is a rule that I learned when I was a young boy, which is always paint on top of paint. If you try to leave like a little gap and come back later to butt them up next to each other, it's never going to look great. It's you're going to have little open gaps everywhere on your canvas or your surface, and it'll be so distracting you'll never really be able to believe the illusion of the image that you're looking at, because there's going to be so much dots of canvas tooth and texture coming through and whatnot. Like I said, it'll make pretty much zero believability come out of your final product. A little bit of a grayish tone. I'm going to run it all the way up the length, separating these two bits here. I hope this is as relaxing for you as it is for me. I was just talking about some sort of inherent pressure in this, but this is like the happy place for me. I can't believe I've deprived myself of this for so long. I think if I had to reverse engineer like the why I stopped painting, it had something to do with, well, I know exactly why. So I got plenty of colleagues in the tattoo and the fine art world, and I have some friends who are so good that they are in like international juried exhibitions every year, and meanwhile I'm out here just doing the occasional oil painting for fun, which is perfectly fine. But I found myself identifying as a painter that was just not producing, and it made me a little messy depressy. So I decided, like, you know what, let me try an experiment. I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and say the words out loud, "You're not a painter." And as soon as I did that, I felt this weight lifted, just shot off of my chest, like, oh God, thank God. It was kind of like a, well, now you're not letting anybody down thing. It's like, oh, sweet. But the truth of course, you already jumped to the conclusion of this. The truth is that I never let anybody down, because A, that's ridiculous, and B, nobody's paying attention to care. And that might sound like nihilistic or You might think it sounds like inaccurate, but the truth of the matter is, no matter what we're doing, people are way more concerned with their own lives and with their own BS they got going on. So I can't at all really care what other people think, and I suggest you don't either. There's a fun. So okay, to get back to less waxing poetic and back to what I'm doing here, there is an element of color mixing that if you do it for long enough, you find that you don't need to think about it anymore, and you just kind of bounce around and do it. I'd like to think that's where I'm at with color mixing, because I'm going pop, 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 and I'm not even telling you guys what I'm up to. So I'll try to narrate from here on out what I'm doing. So I'm going to come into this area that looks like it's a building that has, like, I don't know, some kind of striations going this way, and I need like a caramely tone, a little ochery, but it's also a little neutralized. So I'm going to come into the tiniest bit of this black, because that'll destroy the intensity of it, and it'll destroy it'll basically pull the hue out of it. Yeah, that looks good. Now I'm going to come up here and just block in some striations. Again, the looseness is okay right now, because this is all going to get obliterated in a couple moments. That's part of our magic trick. Alright, so I got those darks in there. Let me drop in some more this tone. And a little bit more warm white. Actually, no, before I do that, let's get a little gray stuff. I'm gonna come up this way. Get that over there. Alright, so now I want to plug all those little slots in. I want to plug that in with some warm white. And this is like, I don't have much liquid in here actually. So let me add a little bit more. I'm just going to pull these horizontally through here. Again, not too concerned with clarity at this point. You might be like, but it's realism. How can you not care about the clarity? It's all going to make sense in a few minutes. When you see me leaning over like that, I'm just scraping some excess paint off my brush on a piece of wax paper I got down here. So I still need to get some bright tones here. Then I can come under here and I'll start working this area. Something, as Bobby Ross would say, let's make some big decisions. It's really darn close to white. This is like, going straight white is kind of like a cardinal sin. Like, I never use straight white or straight black. But this part of my reference is insanely white, so I'll go ahead and lean into that. I can already hear one of my friends aggravated watching this tutorial. Like, what are you doing? This is not how you paint, man. It's supposed to be way more clinical than this. It's supposed to be way more clinical, but that my friend would say that I watched him paint. I know how he paints. None of this, again, I'll say it a million times, none of this really matters at this stage. We're just building up opportunities for later. this guy really quick just because I want to get this little bit in there. Right. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to get that teeny tiniest little bit of blue up in there. I don't know if you guys can see it on the reference right in like this area. There's a little bit of blue. It kind of blurs right into that white. There's much more blue down here. Down there a little bit. And we start pushing some stuff on here. So I got those little bits blocked in. Next thing I'm gonna do is come in with my big mop brush and we're gonna obliterate all these lines and edges. Real light touch. I'm buffing out everything that we put in there. Part I'm not gonna lie, like it's kind of scary because it really destroys what you put down as far as your brush strokes. But if you don't care, then you're not missing anything, right? I guess it's like doing makeup almost, right? You like put your stuff in, then use a blending brush to blend it out. These are called indirect painting methods because I'm going to be doing a bunch of layering. This whole part of the process is just about getting the base layers down. I might contradict myself with the language that I use by saying it's not important, but I just can't care about it. Like when I'm laying those initial strokes in, why would I be committed to or obsessed with or married to any of those initial strokes if the rest of the pigment's about to get blurred out? You know what I mean? Like if I'm gonna go through and just bust it all up anyway, then who cares? Later on, I'll come in with another layer, add some more texture, or add some more suggestions of color, blur that out, and push, pull, back, forth. I'll show you really quick a little example of that. So just a spot over here that I lost. In there. Much similar to what I had before. So definitely closer to my reference. Okay, so now that I got that bit in, let's do we make big decisions and come this way? Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Let's send it. Together now. I'm going to start with some of this umber and burnt sienna to get like a little bit of a warm, dark brown. And let's see, got that white strip, and then there's like some, so let's put that there. Let's pull straight. Remembering where I had my armature, the rectangle. Before, it's almost all those lines are almost already gone, disappeared, but there were a couple left peeking through, and I was able to find that straight line right there. So that's going to be on my 1/3 division, directly on that line of 1/3. And there's another third over here, so we have boom, boom, boom. Then, yeah, go straight up. Already at this point, yeah, why not bucket, send it. Let's go. We need more death metal missing from our culture. We need more death metal oil painting. That's what we need. Well, maybe like album covers. I wonder how many artists. I know some. I absolutely know some are doing it, but I wonder how many artists are hand painting album artwork anymore versus just Photoshop or Gulp AI. I don't mind if a fledgling project, up and coming band or whatever is using AI to make their art. Who cares? Let's just enjoy the time. Explore ourselves, you know. If like I was a 14-year-old kid in a band in my basement thinking like, man, I would really love to have a band, but I can't figure out who's gonna do my artwork. Two things. One, I'd be concerned with the wrong shit right off the bat, but two, I would hate to be stalled by that, you know? We somehow, for some bizarre reason, influenced away from doing what I'm doing because it's not going to be as cool as other people's, so it's not going to look as legit. Okay, so let's bring a little bit more of this warmer tone up into this section here. Yeah, that's nice. It looks like this is like here maybe? Oh, I feel like I'm missing a major component here. I feel like I put this white here, so this like brighter yellowy orange tone is supposed to be up by it. It's supposed to be like here somewhere. Does that feel better? I think it feels a little better. Just gonna kind of punch it. I hate these bright brushes, to be honest. I'd rather go back to my rounds. I'm just gonna punch it some bland basic texture in there. This is the edge of that alleyway, right back here, and then it gets a little bit more into focus this way, so this can be pretty blurred out up here. Yeah. I got a big chunk here I gotta peel off because I don't want it to ruin all the other paints. There we go. Alright. Let's blur this out. Blend it in, as it were. I need to purchase myself some smaller mop brushes so I can make these things happen on a smaller scale, because this big mop brush is more for just like obliterating the background that I did in the last video. Big decisions, fuck it. Send it. Let's just put it the fuck out of this. I'll do that directionally. And I'll just kind of. There we go. There we go, Los. Don't be afraid. I already said you weren't afraid on camera. Don't be afraid. Nice. Alright. So now, I'm going to start coming up and pushing some darker tones up this way. And I'm not interested in doing any of that graffiti yet. That can come later. I'm gonna try something here. I'm going to mix some of this. Oh shoot, I'm mixing off camera. Let me mix down this corner. I'm gonna take some of this umber, some ultramarine blue, some alizarin crimson. I'm gonna mix these together and make like a rich dark, like a rich, almost black. Let's see how that looks on the canvas. That way I can, oh, that's lovely. That way I don't have to destroy the... Like, if you mix black in your painting, but also in your pigments to try to make them darker, it is 100% going to neutralize what you're trying to tint. But if I mix this up, it'll be dark, but it'll remain warm, and I can start to see a little bit of purple is happening here from the red and the alizarin crimson and the ultramarine blue. So I'm going to come back in with some more of this umber, try to go a little bit richer, darker on there. Like I said, I'm not too interested in working on that graffiti right now. I'll leave a couple spaces for it, but really this is about getting the darkness of this alley in. And there is some blue up in here, so it's kind of fortunate. So I'll grab some more this for ultramarine blue. I'm gonna come down here, make it a little bit cooler, not making heat, but like temperature wise. A little bit of black, but not straight, just like me. There we go. Fuck yeah. So now it's really warm, like luxurious tone, rather than just flat ivory or lamp black, which is not going to be very interesting to look at. I can see where that curve edge is going to be. Nice. And then I gotta blend this into that, but I'll do that with that blend later. Let me get a little bit more of this ultramarine. I dig it. Push it a little blue. My reference has like a grayish tone on it, and I don't have an orange, or else I did like straight in orange to neutralize this blue. But let me take a risk here and see if I can do some red and yellow to neutralize the... No, that's not gonna work at all. Is there anything I can use this weird red color for now? Hopefully not. Just drop it up here just so it wasn't a complete total waste. Yeah, that was stupid. Okay. I'll try to get fancy. Let's go back to, I just need a gray. Pull it with some white. And it's between like a lavendery gray. Off a little bit. I gotta pull some lighter tone up there. Sometimes I mix on the panel. Sometimes I mix, almost all the time I mix on my mixing palette here, which I use a glass palette with a neutral gray background so I can see the colors as unmolested as possible. But so this way. And use a little bit of this yellow. What was this color? This is light yellow ochre. Yeah. I should be using like a tiny bright vest. Part of the fun of this whole project that we're doing is I threw away all my oil painting supplies when I called it quits. Like, it's gone. So I'm starting from scratch. It costs like $430 for me to pick up the oils and the panel and all my peripherals that I need, and I'm still missing tons of stuff that is going to be crucial later on in this painting. That's alright. We're going on the adventure together, so maybe I'll even bring you with me to the art store someday. Sounds kind of fun, right? Alright, I'm going to take my mop brush and I'm going to obliterate some of these shapes here. And it's a lot of dark, so it's probably going to get really muddy looking, but let's see what I can do. decisions of why to use this panel instead of a canvas or linen panel is because this is what they had at Blick's. They happen to have these, and they don't carry small linen panels anymore like they did several years ago, so okay, whatever. I ain't mad at you, Mortal Pock. God, there's nothing that brings me as much joy in this world as obliterating these brush strokes and seeing it last. Like, in art history, there are plenty of artists that use panels or playboard or something like that to get more smooth looking final paintings. And I'll say it a million times, I'm much more practiced in linen and canvas, but I really like Jan van Eyck, any of those old Dutch dudes, but Salvador Dali had a lot of really smooth, glassy stuff in like the first part of his career. I would say like the late 20s to mid 30s. Everything was insanely like glass-like in its finish. And then he got a little bit looser later on. Well, he didn't get looser. He just used bigger canvases, and rather than trying to make a gigantic gesso board or like primed panel that was 15 feet tall, stretch canvas or stretch linen was where it was at. Okay, so not too bad, not too bad. I really hate how some of this blended with this big brush, so I'm gonna, after this video, we'll purchase some more brushes. But that's okay. Again, it's all temporary. That's fucking matters. Let me use this brush that I just picked up actually and drop some yellow in there to block in that graffiti. It doesn't like mean I have to do graffiti right now. It means I'm gonna block some in. Come back and finish it all up later. I already botched this yellow ochre. Put way too much crap in it. It's not my palette. Part of undertoning and tinting the surface in this transparent red like oxide equivalent paint is it makes the paint that's on the palette look wrong once it ends up on the panel. It's like, it's not yellow. But when the harmony of everything comes together, then like a magic trick, it goes click, oh my god, it all looks right. But that's just the optical effects of color harmonies. Too much of a shit as to how it looks because I'm about to obliterate it all, push it into each other. I'm gonna use that word a million times, and I'll try to remember, because we're filming this, to re-explain everything as much as possible in case anybody's trying to really understand the methods here. But by obliterate, I mean just like blend everything into everything. Get rid of any brush strokes. I want to get rid of any detail that might be in there because we're going to sharpen it as one of the last steps. And really what we want to do off rip is get it all suggested but not described. Right now I'm punching in some of this ultramarine because I'm seeing it in my reference as like reflective quality that's on the brick of the wall. I don't like the orange that's peeking through here still from my underground, my ground. So I'm going to try as best I can. I don't have any super clean brushes here to fill those slots with what's remaining of this yellow on my panel or on my palette. I'm all over my words today. I'm just gonna indiscriminately fill these slots here, and then I'm gonna obliterate and then move on to another part of this thing. What's gonna be fun is later when it's time to actually put this graffiti in. This is Midjourney AI, so even though graffiti in the real world is often illegible, this is garbage, it's gibberish, it means nothing. So I will get to create my own graffiti on this wall without worrying about the cops coming. I can say whatever I want. I have some ideas of what I'd like to say, but I'll save that for later. What you spoke of it. Alright, that feels better. Get a little bit more of these ultramarine blue drops in there, and then obliterate and move on, obliterate and move on, obliterate and move on. Alright. Feeling good about that. Loving it. I'm gonna blow the fuck out of this and then move on to the next part. I'm pulling with the direction of the perspective when I go up with my horizontals, just so the final piece has a little bit more movement to it. I don't know how much of this is going to show through because we're doing more layers on top of this, but it at least gives me some of that perspective. Perspective pull. Did I miss something up there? None of this matters. None of this matters. If you don't know where that's from, everybody says it all the time, but I 100% believe it's just straight from Aqua Teen Hunger Force when Carl Bertamanowski goes, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. Alright, let's start putting in some cement, this ground color, and then we'll move on to the glass wall. I'm going to try to do this all in a quick 15 minutes here. The warm white because it does have like a warmer look to it. I like to do these like kind of like stamping effects when I'm working on something that has a uncontrolled grain to it. Like you can't really, I guess you could pour concrete and then sweep it with a large broom. I've seen that a million times in construction videos, but there is still some randomness to it, to like the little pebbles, the little texture, the little shoe prints or gum marks or whatever that might be on there. So I like to do this like blotting technique because it gives me the opportunity to build up a sublayer of where those textures ultimately may or may not go. I can always buff it out later if I don't like it. And it'll only benefit if I choose to leave it. If it's of use to me. If you are of use to me, I will keep you. I will keep you in my studio if you are of use to me. This is what I do it on purpose too. You may call me a monster, but I am the keeper of the paint, and I will blot if I decide I need to blot. It loses a lot of texture as it goes back into the distance and becomes out of focus, so I'll make sure to leave these initial hesitation marks, if you will, a little bit less texture-y, and then have some more texture as it comes forward. Just like the first video that we did, it looks like it's like, do you know how to paint? And I already tooted my horn in that first video. I was like, I'm pretty good at this, which I think I know what I'm up to. But these stages, it's always so like impossible to tell if it's is it working? Do you like me yet? That warm ground, literally and figuratively, panel and in our reference here, the warm ground peeking through is so satisfying. As we were talking about in the previous video, the warmth of the underpainting, or the block-in layer, whatever you want to call it, the wash-in. There's a million different names for a million different parts of this craft. But it was to warm up the underneath, warm up the shadows, make things pop forward more. But where you have the little bits that peek through, where the brushes, just like scrape and the natural bristles reveal what's going on underneath. Chef's kiss, man. This shit's awesome. Now she's standing on like a piece of, it's like a black top. So I will definitely insert that in there. And that's like straight up neutral gray. I'm gonna blend it in with the round here. I'm gonna save that round for texture on the wall. You can use this stupid bright. This fucking brush. I hate you. Friend with me. I'm not supposed to do those voices. Nobody told me that. I just think society told me, hey, don't do impressions of people's voices. I like in Seinfeld when George is talking about things that he wants to do, or Jerry's talking about something, and they're like, why not? Because society. And it's like, yeah, that's why not. Kind of have a species that agrees that certain things are cool and certain things aren't, and that varies and changes over time. You either adapt with the change or you become the old guy that yells about it. So I'll try my best not to do voices, but I'll probably keep doing them because I'm a victim of habit. Blot, 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 blot. I'm gonna blot it in. If it's an indescript white voice, I think it's fine. I'm going to blot it in. I'm going to leave these little marks. That's not white. I don't know if I grew up in the hood. I've been telling people I have like my whole life because I lived in a city in southeast Michigan called Inkster. It's a suburb of Detroit that has a decent amount of violence and crime. We had our fair share of interactions with violence and crime and fearful things when we were coming up. But then I moved to like the most white bread city in the world, Livonia, when I was like 8. So did I really grow up in the hood, or was it just my foundational memories from a place that was a little bit more gangster? And it never left. I could feel it in the gait of my voice. That's even a phrase. I know it's in there somewhere. And I try to exercise that demon. Get it out of me. Make me a better person. Don't appropriate somebody else's culture. Because this is a painting and we can make any departures we want, I could literally make this like a fucking yoga mat that she laid out in the alley for practice. That blocked in for the most part. There's like a kind of sandy color in the middle there. Just block those and block those in there for now. Again, all of this is going to get layered. These are indirect painting methods. If I left it like this, you'd call it direct painting methods, but it would look like childish direct painting methods. Okay. That'll do for my block in there. Bob Ross would say 2 hairs and some hair. Just as little pressure as possible with these mop brushes to blur this stuff out. I am kind of excited to see what happens with this final piece because this is such a massive mop brush and it is like pulling strokes into each other, and I'm seeing like almost motion blur lines, that can make for a pretty cool final painting. But in the future, and in the future on this painting as well, I'm definitely going to have to invest in some smaller mops, because this is just absurd. I just realized that this is a single point perspective piece, meaning that it all goes right to dead center there. I should have used that in composition earlier. Thought, planned with that understanding. But I didn't, so here I am. Again, all of this will be re-hit in a subsequent layer. Just trying to obliterate any edginess, any strokiness, any sharpness. Because the sharpness will be dialed in later, strategically. Left. It's this wall, a little bit here. Let me do that a little bit stupid fast. Fast version. That. That here. It's a little bit darker stuff right there. But her clothing and hair are going to be the darkest thing that's on here. So I'm going to make certain that I don't use too much black in the background here. Again, this is something I can and will have to tune in later, but for right now, I really want to set myself up for success visually, so that when I'm glancing at this, I can tell what I'm going for, and what I will be going for is a much, much lighter than black tone. Alright, back to my cool darks. My nice little wink wink special sauce. It's for my friend. There's a lot of like vertical striations here for the graffiti that's on there, so let me just kind of drop those in haphazardly. I'm excited to see the comments of what people who don't know what this method of painting is and how it works, to see like what your thoughts are so far, what your expectations are, what moving forward you think is going to happen or not happen. It's all exciting to me. I've probably done like 200 paintings, which isn't insane, but I mean it's 200 anything is a big number. So I know ultimately, even with relearning how to ride the bicycle, getting back on, and all that, all the process that this is going to take, and all the difficulty and the layering and everything that's going to come with it, I know it's going to turn out to be fantastic. As you can see, I'm not like stupid patient either. I'm just kind of like moving a little quick, because later on it'll make more sense to be strategic. I keep saying the same things over and over again. I'm sorry to repeat myself, but I can't hammer home enough how much of this later is exciting. This is building the foundation still. If we have a house, we're not going to start with decorating it. We're going to start by laying a foundation. I guess for that analogy, the foundation was kind of laid with our underpainting, and this is more like, okay, now we're going to start drywalling. This is my drywall phase. Fine Art Connoisseur magazine, an interview with artist. I think it was Damien Loeb. I could be wrong, but my memory, whenever I come up with something, recall something that quick, I'm normally pretty right. I think it's Damien Loeb. His father said, big artists use big brushes, so always use big brushes. Also, though, that normally works best with big canvases and big income for big amounts of oil paint. Grays. I'll dab a couple whites in there in a second, and then we'll obliterate and we'll get out of here. I'm trying to keep each layer to an hour. If I can do an hour's worth of work per layer, I mean, I've done 16-hour painting sessions before, and don't get me wrong, there is some value in that. The getting locked in, the mega flow state, all that. But for the sake of creating a YouTube series, you kind of want to be able to watch an episode before bed or something and then move on. So instead of belaboring this, I'm going to try to do these layers in hour increments, and we'll see how many videos it takes. This is I was talking to a couple artist friends of mine earlier, how exciting this is to document in real time how long it takes, because normally I'll just take a little pencil on the edge of my canvas and write 1 hour, 2 hours, 3.5 hours, whatever it is, invested in those late night sessions, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, that painting took me 36 hours to do, but no way of knowing yet how long this is going to take, except we will know by the end of this playlist if it took 10 hours, 10 episodes, or if it took 48. We shall see. Okay, almost there. To do is obliterate, drop in white, and obliterate one last time. So let me do that. You can see with that orange peeking through how little of this is actually moving, and it's really just taking away like the topography of the brush stroke, meaning like how thick the impasto-ness of it pops off the canvas. Yeah, it's definitely my warmy type white. Drop some little bits in. Again, indiscriminate, because we don't know what this graffiti is going to be yet. Down the road, it will be still incredibly blurred and out of focus, but hopefully it's a little more Carlos-y. Legible. No, I've looked at the lettering I've designed, it's never legible, but you follow what I'm trying to get white tones in there. Soften all those edges up so that there's nothing peeking through anymore. And we'll use that as a sub layer for next time, for the following layer that is on this side of the alleyway. Use that as a sub layer to set up the stuff that goes above it. So there we go. We have a background vaguely blocked in, and you can see to our reference to here where the shapes are coming to be. Nothing anywhere near the scope of finished, but definitely going somewhere. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know if you remember or not from the top, but I'm trying to become the first tattooer in outer space. I don't know how to make that work, so we should probably work together on it. make any phone calls that you might be able to, call in some favors, send some emails, be like, yo, this Carlos guy, he does some tattoos and he paints every once in a while. Put him in outer space. Just kidding. Peace.